years, China will be out of business. India will be out of business. Manufacturing will be back here, but it's going to be done by robotics. Medical will be 50% reduction because a lot of what you do in medicine will be done on your devices. Pre-checkup, talk to a doctor, blood test. You can do all that now. You can actually buy the instruments that does all this for less than $100. The impact or the disruption I like to call Uberization of every industry there is. Before it was our industry, technology. It's not, it hasn't stopped. It's disrupting. There's nothing we can do, but what do we have to do? We have to prepare our kids for that workforce. And that's what scared me. And I stood up and I said, okay, what about the social implications of this disruption? I said, has business ever cared? Fair. They aren't. They're paid. What is business tied to? The board of directors told them to what? Revenue growth, increase in sales, shares. It's all about stock. They're not going to stop and think, what happens if we put half the world out of business? What are all the people going to do? But this is important. Even you can say that you have to have, education is talking about the whole realm of making a child prepared to make decisions for, because I'm going to get old. I'm already old. But these children that you are educating are going to be taking care of my generation. So it's very important what you guys do. It's very important what we're doing to help facilitate that, because we just talked about a disruption education is doing. I mean, the technology is doing. So we're going to talk very shortly. I'm going to hit some main points, but you've got some very good guest speakers in here today to talk about different things that will be more relevant and get more questions. I just want to introduce the topics. I just want you to be aware. Because when the superintendent said this is the last year of SACE, that was my vision 6 months ago. That we had been in it last year, or a year ago. We couldn't make it because we couldn't get all the vendors certified, but we're going to talk about that right now, because we have done some good progress on that. In our last meeting, we only had 7 vendors certified. Today, all of them are certified. You should thank your vendors. I appreciate their support. I told you I was not in the business of putting them out of business. Remember, 3 years ago, you said, well, you're going to put people out of business. That's not my job. They provide you a service. We have done something no other state has done. And every other state is looking at how we've done it and are trying to follow us. They're asking us, how did you get this certification done? What process? It takes a lot of levels of manpower, a lot of technology people talking to them, helping them through it, understand what we're trying to accomplish. But we've done that, which means that we've made it through that one bridge. But this year, remember the last, how many of you were in May? Is that when the last meeting was? May? We talked about I had to come up with a new plan. I had to come up with the fact that I had to keep SACE as a system of record this year. Because our objective, and then we talked to the legislature, was the last year we were supposed to do that. But we didn't quite make it there. This is the last year that it will be a system of record. That I hope to promise you. It all depends on us in this room. Our implementation plan is in progress. But when you're doing something that nobody's ever done before, you can't copy a plan that's worked. That's hard. So we're creating the plan, making mistakes, adjusting the plan. So that's what if I wish I could stand up here and say, I have a perfect plan for you. Then you'd call me and say you're a liar. I am listening to our imperfections from you as we go forward. I've been on the phone with districts and their IT directors and their business officers. I've been in front of ASCUS. I've been in front of the superintendents. We're all trying to make this as much as communication to help you. The people in this room are very much impacted by what I'm doing. I'm trying to make sure the people above you provide you the proper support. Because at the end of the day, I always know where, I mean, I've been around a long time, but know when something goes wrong, the farther down you are in the organization, the more you worry. But I don't want you to worry. We're talking to everybody and we're making sure they're aware that what you're trying to do. So, on our statewide SIS implementation, and I'm going to talk very shortly about that, our SIS implementation, we had a goal of implementing 25. Well, we implemented 48. Not without problems. Anytime you do something new and you think you've got a plan, I just told you. Never done this before. Is Claire here? No, sir. Bob, I saw you. First thing I do is black out Bob. Okay, I do understand what they do. They support a lot of LEAs. And I'm sure their first time they did this was not perfect. Because I'm learning. So some of the things that, that I'm really happy with, so that you, and this is the only time I talk about this, is that, because there's, all of you talk to each other. So if anybody in this room, I'm not asking people to raise their hands, I'm not doing any of that. Talk to each other. Any of the issues I'm having, I'm fixing. I have 3 people that work at EduPoint in their facility. They were that generous to us to let us put people there, because then we don't have to ask somebody, go walk and talk to somebody, get you help immediately. That's our job, is to help you. We will continue to listen to your complaints. I will continue to listen to your complaints. You can call me directly. It's not easy, but let me tell you, I didn't plan on doing Tucson and Glendale all in the same first year. I didn't plan on 48, and I have a list of people who wanted to go on. What I've learned is this is not as easy, because you ask some really tough questions, and I have to be able to answer them. And I just so you know, I woke up the other day and said to myself, oh my God, I have to support SACE reporting from a vendor side. I've never done that. You just called me and told me my system was not working. So I have to learn, I'm going to have to learn that too from SACE side, AZ Ed side. That's the other problem. I got to teach you, and then I got to also learn. So that's a good thing, because what do? We learn what we don't think we know. We're rolling out a bunch of reports that you're going to get to see and talk about, and you've talked about some of them. And a nice little picture. I always got to have a technical picture just to show you that I am technical. Just to make you impressed. People in the back, can you see that top row? What it means to LEAs. But the rest you can't read. This thing is SACE. This thing is AZ Eds. I'm making this simple. We had to create a bridge from AZ Eds to SACE. Because in the first part of this transition, during this last couple months, we've been moving, we have about 10 vendors. I think we were going to try to do 4 last night. I don't know if they got through. Randall, did we get 4 through last night? They did start submitting? Okay, so we got 4 more. Okay, we got 600 plus. We've got how many on AZ Eds? 10. Does anybody see a problem? Okay. Do you see a cliff coming? Good. Just keep that in mind, because the cliff is coming. And I don't have a stick to beat you all and say you want to be on this. There's no stick. I've got to try to use a carrot. And my carrot ain't big enough sometimes to get everybody to do this, because for years you said this sucks, excuse my language. But I heard that loud and clear. But now I'm thinking that it doesn't as much. Because I shouldn't have fixed it. Because if I wouldn't have fixed it, but what you don't know it's about ready to break every day. We're using, I mean, we're talking SQL 7. All right, that's not been supported for years. Windows 2000 is not supported. If this thing breaks, Microsoft said, you give me $10 million, we'll come try to figure it out. $10 million. They don't support it. So, if that doesn't motivate you, if that breaks, no money. We'll be having a checkbook. And that'll be long and hard and arduous. We'll probably get it done. But it's much better to go to this, which is AZs. Post October 15th, we've got a bridge coming in that's going to take SACE data to AZs. So we got a bridge going both ways. Why would I do that? Because this year, all this data is for you to look at. And we want to make sure you know the difference. Oh, by the way, the legislature wants to know the difference. So ADM will not be the same. No way. It will be impossible. Just because the rules are different. But we want you to take the time to analyze this. So even if you're submitting up here, the data will be ramped down here so you'll be able to see it, but that doesn't help you come June 30th. You have to make the journey, which is something that I don't control. That's you control at your LEA. And the other thing I want you to remember, it's not the same. The reports are different, the process is different, the business process is different. That's what you do when you build a new system. However, some of the reports I've been told look a lot like SACE because that's what you guys asked for. I said, oh my gosh, they told me it was the pets, it didn't work. So why did we do that? So I'm going to try to get you out of a comfort zone. Okay, as we roll out we're going to roll out your first version. Then we're going to ask you to come together in a focus group. And we're going to teach you that's not very efficient. Why would you want to read 10,000 pages of a report? You only want to know that 4 students didn't pass. Or didn't make, you should fix the 4. You don't want to look at 10,000. That's how business runs, but apparently everybody wants to do the same thing, because why? We're comfortable. What did I just tell you about the kids that are going to go into a workforce that's changing? Who else is? Disruption is happening, whether you like it or not. How many people know the largest hotel chain in the world doesn't own a hotel? The largest, Airbnb. The largest taxi company in the world doesn't own a car. Uber. The world is changing. So we ask you guys, you got to be the leading edge of that change. So sometimes I'm asking you to get out of uncomfortable. This is not comfortable, I get it. No change is comfortable, nor is any change perfect. This is a lot to happen. How many people were here when SACE was implemented? I think you were, Bob, right? I think he was part of it. It was not perfect. It was not smooth. It was not easy. Because you went from a mainframe, I understand, from mainframe sheets to a whole different world. Okay, put that on steroids. Because time changes. But you need to remember this is your system of record. This year is for you. Next year, on June 30th, I flush all this data. It's deleted. Because next July 1st, the first district that starts school, that's where your data is coming in. This is where ACE, Aggregation Calculation Engine, this thing, will be implemented in both sides. Whether or not they'll keep legacy aggregation this year or implement the same ACE engine depends on how our school finance department feels confident on. But it'll be here for you to see what ACE is doing. ACE is the one that, ACE is, it's like an ACE bandage. What does it do? It will be running every day. How often does aggregation run today? Once a month. It'll run every day. If you don't submit any data, will there be anything in ACE? And I didn't tell you had to change how you submit data. Legislature might. But I didn't. But the more you submit data, the cleaner the data is. You have to do STC up here, and I'm sure that if they're not going to talk to you about STC today, you can't use AZ- unless you submit STC. It absolutely is worthless to you. AZ Merit, sometime in October. I realized that the kids took the test 5 months ago. So there will be no questions for me on AZ Merit. I am not in charge. But when the data gets to me, do you want your teachers to see it as fast as possible? You got to get your STC updated so that your teachers can see their students, how they did. The Ames dashboards won't look the same as AZ Merit because it's a different test, so it'll be separate, right? It's apples and oranges. But you want their kids to see it. You will have access other ways through the AIR portal if you've delegated that down to your teacher level. Most districts haven't. So, but we want to get you the data as fast as possible so you can educate your parents and students on where they stand. Okay, done with my technical picture. This is our current timeline. It's changed a lot. You've seen me with different timelines. Our initial deployment was complete on July 1st, 2015. We started our pilots in September. Some of them in the summer. And it's been bumpy. We've had everything from this not looking like SACE, I don't want it. I had somebody call me and say, I want to opt out. Cool. Where are you getting the money to educate your kids? Because if you don't opt in, there's no opt in or opt out. This is it. You know, I don't think I got directions from the legislature that this was an option. So, this is slow right now. We're getting better though, as each of the vendors complete, and some of them are smallest, and I'm not here to advertise vendors. Absolutely not. But I will say the smallest vendor in our state was the first to go online. Couldn't believe it. Maybe because they only had one district. But the fact that they could code their system to do it, didn't matter if they had 100 districts, they had to do the same work of code. But that's the date that we all have to hit. Let's talk about June. I have 10 today, I got 630 left, roughly. Oh my gosh, I'm scared. Anish is probably going to be, he's in the back, he's the most scared. He keeps telling me every day that this is impossible. Well, I'll tell you what's going to be really hard, is to do 250 or 300 in June. I hope every one of you that's not going to go AZs before June is going to be sitting around your office in June, in July, because you got to do it. And it won't be my side. My side is pretty easy. I give you keys to the Azure cloud. I give you access, and then we watch your data come in. And we watch the transaction. We have visibility now to all the data coming in, all steps of the phase. We never had that. So do you, because you asked for reports for all steps of the phase. So you have visibility of how your data is coming in. But I don't want June to be 250 or 300 people. That will be bad for you and me. I'm hoping you all are on vacation. And we're ready to start the school year. That's my expectation. So let's try to shoot for a goal of being done by the end of May. Who's in charge of that goal? It's once I get your vendor and you through the pilot, and this is given a description, I'll talk about it in a minute, but once you get who the pilots are, and I'm not gonna point them out either, is once you guys say yes, or we see good data matching, and it's happening with some big vendors, it's really moving. It then takes you to say to your vendor, I will load the patch, or whatever, if you're a hosted solution, and you host your own, then you have to do some things. Because you gotta get the most current version of the vendor software on your system. If you're hosted by the vendor, then I don't know what those steps are, but I'm assuming that they just turn it on for you. And you configure how often you want the data to flow. That's a decision you make. You gotta spend times looking at the report. Now, we come in through AZ's validations, and I told you we're gonna have a bridge going between both. So, those that are still on SACE, we'll map your data back down to AZ's, so you can start to see AZ's even though you're not on it. But don't think that's gonna stay. I cut the bridges on June 30th. This is the only way to get in to get paid. I'm doing this so you guys can look at things and so I can show the legislature what the difference is so they can hopefully make everybody whole. But this is not a permanent solution. SACE is going away. And I'm the bad guy. But if I should have brought the film 4 years ago of when you sat there and told me how good SACE was, how much you enjoyed the experience, you'd be motivated to do this. Well, I'm not going to talk a lot about the validation and all this of this data, but I've got experts that are going to come up here and answer your questions on doing reporting. Right, Randall? And I've worked through the briefing to make sure that it's more interactive than versus me just talking to you or them just talking to you. But please know that our website has all these things on it. And I'm also listening. So I had a recent business officers conference, our meeting. I was captured in the corner. A business officer told me, where do I see the difference between SACE reports and AZ's reports? So I know which one does what. Because I'm used to SACE reports. Right there. If you're looking at the map from one to another, there. Some reports went away. I think I talked about all that. People hate making slides for me, I'll let you know. Because it's all up here, and that's just something for you to have later. I promise that I'll try to make this balanced and this methodical as humanly possible. I'd like to get to a point where I have a volume of 50 LEAs a week moving. I know Anish is sitting there saying not a chance in heck. But if we can get that, then we can get to June, and you all have a good vacation. Does anybody in here take the month of June off? I don't. I do plan a vacation on the first week of June every year. That's because nobody else travels, and I can get on airplanes. Hopefully we'll give you as much notice as for your transition. If you volunteer, I don't need to call you. But first thing we have to tell you is your vendor ready? That's the most important, right? Is the vendor readiness. And then we won't want to take 13 mega-sized districts and do them first. Maybe 1 a week, 2 a week. We do want to knock out, because if we knock out 20 to 25, what is it? Top 90 of the districts is 80% of the students. Then we've got a big, but this goal is a little different than that. I have to get 100%, which means the districts with 50, 60, harder places to reach. That's where this group helps. By helping each other through these reports, and helping each other through your learning, because I know you all talk to each other. Because if I do anything wrong, everybody in this room probably knows it. So your help in helping each other be successful is critical for our journey. So those that want to be mentors and help each other as you learn this, please communicate through the, I'll send trainers if you want to have special classes or groups. As we make this transition, we will do whatever is possible to make it successful. Where are we going? AZETS is not ever finished. AZETS 2.1 is what I'm implementing. AZETS 3.0 will be in next summer. So we'll work with your vendors. And what's that mean? Remember when I started this conversation, we told you that we ask for data from your districts 250 times a year. Just to remind you, there's only 182 to 200 days of school, depending on where you are. So I bother you twice a day sometimes for data. Sometimes the same data you've already given to me from another department. That's what AZET's getting rid of. Whatever's needed for state and federal. We will never ask for data that's not required from us unless you have a data sharing agreement with me and you gave me specific rules. An example of that would be formative-based assessment that your district wants me to map to AZ report card. It's just like I'm a cloud or a server, that's all it is, because I don't look at your data. I lock your data, it just maps right back to you. I do not give anything outside of our agency to the feds unless it's aggregated. Our data governance policies are pretty strict. We don't just let people have their data, so it's protected. So the people that own the data is your parents who have loaned it to you. That's the way I look at it. They gave you guys the authority to take care of their kids. Okay. That's what's going to be included in the AZETS 3.0. And any new rules that we come up with or any changes that we have to make based on what you find out. I didn't say this was going to be perfect. I did say it was going to be better. It is a whole lot more faster than it used to be. The fact that I run integrity every day, eventually every minute if I wanted to, that never happened before. Aggregation daily, right after integrity. You can know where you are every day. So when you don't have to wait till the end of the year to freak out to find out where all your ADM is. All right? You should know. And then hopefully you can put those extra people used to count data to help teachers. The other thing I want to focus on is the one thing I've learned really quickly in data governance is that I see where the data problem is now. It ain't us. It's the registration of students at your district. Okay, so what does that mean? You have very decentralized districts, some of you. Some of you is only one person. We really need to start helping you focus on giving checklists to the person that registers so that they put it in right so it makes your life easy. Okay, I used to work support. Believe it or not, I didn't grow up and just be a CIO, and I've been a boss my whole life. And I used to get phone calls at 2 in the morning. I worked in a global enterprise. And if I didn't answer the phone call at 2 in the morning, then 3 in the morning would be the CEO of the $64 billion company asking me why I'm losing $1 million a minute. So I got on the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning. But the problems that I got on the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, I wanted to fix because I didn't want to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So if you guys are seeing pages of errors, that would be a clue to you to teach your registrars. That investment in time to teach your registrars how to put the data in correctly will make your lives better. I can't do that. I can help if you ask me to, but I don't have knowledge of the vendor systems like you do. Only one. You know them all. And I can't, so you're, and I know it's like, gosh, I don't want to, they're so hard to get to that secretary, whoever does it. But the investment in time and making that person feel important and teaching them how to put their data in makes your life easy. Plus the parents standing in front of them at the time of registration, it's easier to fix something when they're there. And you get it right. It's really hard when parents not there anymore. I am here for you. Our department superintendent is here for you. If you have issues during this transition, let us know. I can't know about it. I don't want to wait until December. I want you to tell me, Mark, This is not working. I know that everybody's told me my support is not working well. I get it. I have a whole lot of tickets over. I implemented AZEDS, SIS, and maintaining SACE, and I thought I could do it easily.